I'm excited to be joined today by Ellie Goulding. Ellie, thank you for making the time. So when we first met last spring in New York, you shared with me some snippets of your new album, which is out in a few days, but you were equally eager to talk about your work as a longtime environmental advocate, and especially with the UN Environment Program. Can you tell me a little bit about how that work has shaped you lately?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what we talked about the last time, but yeah, I've been working with the UN for a few years now. I've done as much as I can during lockdown with them through Zoom and video links to talk about the stuff that I've been doing. In particular, the stuff I've been doing with my album packaging, which is completely biodegradable. It's a plant-based plastic that it's wrapped in, and then everything is FSC approved, so it's all like cardboard and all recycled materials, and even the tapes are recycled. So that was a big thing for me because I looked into how much went into album packaging, like physical packaging, and it was a lot, and it was not good. So we tackled that. Secondly, we've been talking a lot about how we want the tour to be as green as physically possible. We're talking about bringing the crew right down, making it very minimal, making it more about me. So I have to sort of essentially become a one-man band so that I don't have 1,000 people on tour with me. We've tried to explore all the ways that we can tour in the most efficient and as carbon neutral as possible. But obviously, it's been a strange time, I think we can agree. And so I've done as much as I can within that time. I've been reading a lot, I've been learning a lot, I've been trying to listen to people's stories, individual stories. I think that for me has always been the key. I did a few days ago, we did a big climate coalition talk on Zoom, and honestly, I was only meant to go on for 20 minutes or so to talk to my friend Lucy Siegel about how we wanted a green revolution. We wanted the recovery, especially in the UK, to be completely green. We thought it was a great opportunity for things to get a complete restart, for when the economy booms again, to make sure that it was a green recovery. But then I ended up just watching the whole thing because I just love listening to people's stories and people's experiences. I've done as much as I can with the restrictions, but it's definitely been a time of a lot of learning and informing myself.
Yeah, I noticed that in a recent podcast interview, I think it was that one, as well as on Twitter, you've been talking about green economic recovery. But you also mentioned that sometimes you can lose followers just from talking about climate issues. And so I'm curious why you think people react negatively to an artist like yourself speaking out about this stuff, and also what encourages you to continue being an activist in this space.
It's funny because I'd honestly say if I really looked into my data, which I don't often because I find it can take the joy out of what I do sometimes. But if I did, it's my followers are picked up because I've been obviously promoting new music, which is really exciting, and I've been putting kind of teasers up, and there's been a new song out with Lauv, and so that's been great. But I think that what we've noticed is when I post things to do with my activism, I do lose some followers because it is something that is scary to confront and scary to think about. And I think with people just genuinely having to survive through this period, just being able to get through this time and get through their days, it's been tough in itself. So then for us to say, actually, we need you to do more. We need you to be more of an activist. People have understandably shied away from that. But more people have become political and have become activists than ever in this period. So talking about it more and normalizing talking about these quite scary issues, but things we can all absolutely do things about. We can all act individually. I mean, we've seen the power of protest. We've seen the power of action. And not just from groups, crowds of people, but we've seen what individual action can do. I just want people to keep that spirit and know how much their activism is worth. And that for me is what I really hope comes out of this very strange time.
Yeah. I know that even though we've all been stuck at home, you've still been busy. Things like the Climate Coalition talk, but also UN World Oceans Day, Global Citizen Together at Home. Do you feel it's a responsibility as a celebrity and an artist to use your platform especially during this time, to speak out on certain issues?
I see it as me being someone that does have a platform, and I literally have the freedom and the luxury and the privilege to have a voice. And so with that, I feel like, yes, it is my responsibility. I feel like it's the equivalent. If I said, I'm just here to sing and have a good time, and if you like it, you like it. If not, you don't. But I think it's equivalent of saying, like, I'm not into politics. It's like, yeah, you are into politics because everything in your life depends on it. And so I see it like I do have people that follow, what I do. And I know that people have become activists as a result. So it's too tempting to use that platform for what I believe in and what I'm passionate about. And there are other people that have perhaps bigger platform that don't. And I think that's just something that does need to be maybe pushed a bit, because at this point, and I think, with Black Lives Matter, I think it became really clear that we all had to speak up, and we all had to be accountable, and all had to take responsibility, whether we liked it or not. It wasn't about posting on social media. It was just acknowledging that, that it was time to be a student. It was time to learn. It was time to accept things and confront things. So I just see that as my dedication in what I do. And not everyone likes it. And some people just want to hear my music, which I really fully appreciate and respect as well. But once you learn about certain things, it's really impossible to turn your back on them and ignore them. So I'm afraid I'm an activist for life.
Speaking of your music, your new album, Brightest Blue, is out in just a few days. It is a wide-ranging musical project. The first half is all about emotional vulnerability and personal growth. The second, fearless collaborations. Both of those things strike me as particularly relevant right now. Can you tell me a little bit about how you hope people will connect with this new music?
I think I have to say that the side A of my album, I do talk. I think the running theme, the narrative, is much more about becoming a woman, acknowledging my vulnerabilities and my fears, rather than ignoring them and trying to make a pop record that I think, people wanted from me. I think I just decided to go all out with my honesty, and so I've always loved the idea with my music to make people feel better, and I've always loved the idea of hopefulness. I love the idea of something good at the end, some kind of other world where everyone is compassionate, everyone is hopeful, everyone has love for each other and mostly for themselves. Friday is kind of coming to a place in my life where I realized that I was a woman, and I spent my whole 20s touring and kind of being a bit chaotic and not really being rooted and talking about those vulnerabilities. And ultimately you have to have that love for yourself before you can even venture into anything else. And then side B is, like you said, it's my ultimate alter ego, that the woman that I sometimes wish I was, who is completely fearless, afraid of nothing, unapologetic, and can just go out there and sing these songs and be this person. And that's not who I am, but sometimes I feel like I've had to be that woman, and I really admire that woman. So I think it was really important to acknowledge both sides.
And as one last question, back in 2017, when you started working with the UN, you called yourself an Earth optimist. And it can be, I know, really hard to maintain optimism in the face of the climate crisis. So I wanted to ask, do you still consider yourself an Earth optimist? And how do you maintain that spirit, if so?
I have, look, the more you learn, the more you take on. Knowledge is power, but it's also, it's heavy on you. And the more I learn, the more I get outraged for a bit. And then I realized that outrage and anger are helpful to an extent, and they can really, you can get your message across and they can inspire people. You know, that anger and that outrage can inspire. But I think for productivity and for actual progress, having a positive mindset is the best way to be positive. It's like saying, like, right, what can we do? What, you know, how are we going to go forward from this? And I think that's the place everyone's in now. You know, people have been really getting to know themselves in quarantine. They're really learning about issues that they, you know, didn't know anything about. You know, people are more connected to nature than ever. And now people want answers. People are talking, you know, talking to their local MPs, talking to their I mean, in the UK, you know, constituencies, and they're saying, what's the answer? What do we do next? What can we do? And so I think you have to stay optimistic, because there's no other way. You just have to be.
And on that note, thank you so much, Ellie, for joining us this week for Time 100 Talks. I know you have one more performance to share with us today, so I'm going to throw it back over to you.